best ability you can use for every character in the game. If used properly, it can easily turn the tides of battle and even earn you that play of the game at the end of the match. However, unfortunately, for every ultimate, there must be a victim. It happens to everyone, and on some days you just don't have it. If you are on the receiving end of these ultimates, you might start dreading the inevitable once you hear these voice lines. So here are the 10 ultimates that Overwatch players just absolutely hate hearing.
It's hand.
As soon as you hear Mei's ultimate voice line, the first thing you do is see if your movement ability is on cooldown, and then you just start hoping that you aren't in the center of the blizzard and you can still make it out alive. Because if you can't, there is nothing more infuriating than being frozen solid in one place, unable to do anything, and just watch as your whole team and yourself gets absolutely slaughtered. This ultimate does more than just kill you, but it also makes sure it is a very slow and painful process. It ensures that you feel every millisecond of that ultimate, and it really punishes you for not paying attention. We are pretty sure this is one of the reasons why Mei is commonly associated with the actual devil. So how do you not get hit in Overwatch? Well, one of the first things you do is you often try to mix up your movement and make sure you are hiding around cover to ensure you don't get picked off. You constantly mix up your strafe pattern and ensure you have some sort of escape route when things get ugly. Of course, now this all goes out the door as soon as you hear,
I've got you in my sights.
Because the next thing you know, no matter how good you are at mixing up your movements and dodging, you are 100% going to get hit by this thing. Even worse, you think you can hide around the corners only to see a soldier sprinting at you, disregarding any kind of cover and just basically left-clicking you to death. What's so frustrating to a lot of players is that we often feel we are the better skilled player. And trust me, we all think we're that guy, only to lose the fight to an aimbot. Yeah, you win some, you lose some. So, Bastion is already annoying as f***, but before you go hating on Bastion saying he's a bad pick, just know that Envious won one of the matches in Overwatch Contenders Grand Final with a Bastion. Yeah, sure, not all of us are pros and not all of us play in 6 stacks, but that doesn't make Bastion's ultimate any less annoying. Bastion's damage output is already high enough in turret form, but when you hear those beeping noises, it basically just gave his turret legs as well. That thing does 205 damage per direct hit. I've always been the one guy that scoffs at the whole Bastion needs a nerf people, but Blizzard, that is batshit insane. Oh, and did I mention he gets damage reduction as well? So it also makes him that much harder to kill. There are way too many times I'd been on the receiving end of that tank, and it's just never fun staring down the end of that cannon.
Shield generator online. I have opened defense matrix established.
Symmetra is the only hero in the game with 2 ultimates, but no matter which one you hear, annoyance will always ensue. If you realize they put down a teleporter, you just suddenly have a new objective out of nowhere. Otherwise, you have a shield generator which pretty much will be there until it gets destroyed, and an extra 75 shield is huge in any team fight. Not to mention her ult can be charged up wickedly fast. Too often has an objective that could have been won only turn to a loss because of a teleporter or a shield generator at the very last minute. If you played Overwatch long enough, you know it's a much better idea to destroy Symmetra's ult before trying to capture the point. This just means everyone suddenly has a new objective before capturing any points. Not only do you have to destroy this thing, but oftentimes you have to find it as well, which can add on to the frustration when you're on the other team. What's the first thing you do when you hear, "Nerf this"? You immediately look up and look around you for that giant exclamation mark. Yes, given enough notice and you're not stuck in a team fight, D.Va's ult is really not the hardest to move around in the game. However, there are many strategic places for D.Va to launch the nuke, which makes finding cover that much harder. At that point, you're really hoping for some sort of shield to hide behind or just have one yourself. The frustrating part is the damage of this ult is insane. It's basically a guaranteed insta-kill when anyone is in range. A strategically placed D.Va nuke can easily turn the tide of any fights, blowing up 2 to 3 of the enemy team at the same time if everyone is just, well, that unlucky. The only good part is that if the enemy D.Va did get to play the game, at least you will probably see one of the best highlight intros in the entire game. So, I guess we got that going for us. So this is more tailored towards the DPS hero who just hates hearing Zenyatta's ult. A lot of times you're primed and ready with your ult, rather you be a soldier, reaper, Genji, etc., and you're just waiting for your team to blow up the enemy tanker's shield so you can go in for that sweet, sweet play of the game. You press Q and you think to yourself the play of the game is as good as mine until you hear
Pass into the iris.
This defensive ultimate nullifies a lot of offensive ults in the game. As any DPS hero can tell you, all plans are pretty much foiled at that point, and this has been experienced by everyone at least once in their life by a well-timed Zenyatta ult, pretty much canceling out their own. A well-timed Zenyatta ult can sometimes even cancel multiple ultimates at once, erasing basically any chance for the opposing team to capture the point.
You're powered up. Get in there.
So, Ana's Nano Boost is never about herself, right? But when you do hear Ana using it, you know you're probably in for a bad time. Generally, this is immediately followed by some sort of DPS using their ult in tandem with the Nano Boost, making what's already a world of hurt even that much worse. And even if there is another ult coming, just the sight of a glowing 7-foot-tall Reinhardt or Winston charging at you is enough to make you turn the other way. Most Ana players are quite smart about the way they use their ult, meaning when they do pop Nano Boost, it's usually almost always game-changing. Here's hoping that your Ana has that godly sleep dart ready at her disposal as soon as she sees the glowing beacon of doom.
Meteor strike!
And speaking of Doom, Doomfist has been nerfed pretty hard these days, and he's definitely not picked as often compared to when he was first introduced. However, that does not make his ultimate any easier to deal with. If he's determined to just solo ult you since you're a high-value target, there are very limited things you can do unless you have a roof over your head. And even if you do manage to move out of the center of his ult, he can usually follow up with his rocket punch to finish you off. This is more frustrating, not because it's one of the best ultimates in the game, but rather very hard to avoid. If a Doomfist is determined to track you down and solo ult you, it's very hard to stop him from making that a reality. Rather you hate him or you love him, Genji's ultimate voice line is still one of the most frustrating voice lines you will ever hear if you're on the receiving end of the blade. It's so hard to catch an ulting Genji, especially if he's already started his killing spree. Being able to have Swift Strike reset makes you feel like he is literally everywhere at the same time. You know, running might not be the best option, and shooting him down or CCing him will probably be the best bet, but it's just so damn hard with all of his movement abilities. Then you start seeing all the red in the kill feed, and you just run at that point. Sorry. Fight's over. Try again, guys. The most infuriating ultimate of the game right now. When you hear fire in the hole, you instinctively start looking around for that Riptire. Problem is, even if you can see it coming, doesn't always mean you can stop it. In fact, it doesn't even have to get right into your face to kill you half the time. Before Junkrat's buff, Riptire was still relatively easy to deal with provided you had good aim. After the buff, suddenly the Riptire can just wall climb everywhere and hit you in the most unexpected places. Nowadays, when players hear Riptire, their first reaction is usually to look up because they expect the tire to be coming from the air instead of the ground. And even worse, because of Junkrat's bomb and his ability to just spam a choke point whenever he wants, his ultimate charges up at a ridiculous speed. Anyone who's even played a few matches of Overwatch knows it's nothing really that strange at all to be 30 seconds into a fight and just hear a Riptire buzzing around. High mobility, hard to evade, quick charge, and crazy damage make this our #1 pick as the ultimate that Overwatch players just really hate to hear. Overwatch has been responsible for some sour moments in the past, what with being frozen by Mei's ult and then suddenly be staring down the barrel of Pharah's rocket launcher. Getting wrapped up in games like these and then getting shut down, you pay the price of your sanity most times, but being able to deliver the goods to people on the other team is equally as satisfying. Nothing quite like that dopamine rush you get when you drive your Riptire into the whole team while they're regrouping. Anyways, subscribe to TGN, feel free to ring the bell for all of our juicy updates. You know the drill, guys. I'm Rusty, it's been fun, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.